Hi guys, I am super late. I apologize. Hope you are all well and safe and had a lovely weekend and this stunning 24-degree day. And yes, Sunday was not so nice, but we can't complain after Saturday. So you could have had a cozy Sunday after Saturday's beautiful shenanigans outside. Hopefully you got some fresh air and went for a walk or rollerblade or a bike ride or something. Hi Marky, how are you? I am going to do my normal today, so I'm going to do question and answer with you guys, as well as go over real estate updates and some happy news. So feel free to ask any questions if you want in the comments, or I will just go over questions that people have asked me during the week, okay? So I'm going to start with the first question, which is from Tim and Monica in Barrie. And Tim and Monica said, we have 3 daughters who are all nearing the end of high school and will be moving out, we will be moving this year. Do you think we should get a smaller house as we will be empty nesters soon enough, or a larger one so when we sell, people could have home offices, etc.? Thank you, Tim and Monica, for asking. Thank you for the hearts, Margie. But thank you for asking. So it depends how much you want to move. Like if you want to move when they all are done school again, like I don't think you need to have each of them have a bedroom plus a home office right now, plus a home gym, plus a this, plus a that, and you have this like 7-bedroom house and then they're all gone in 2 years. It's a little bit crazy. But do you know what I mean? If you have a home and let's just say it's 2 bedrooms on the main floor and 3 bedrooms in the basement, your 3 girls can go in the basement, then your main floor can become a spare room, your one basement can become an office, another spare room, and like a gym. That kind of makes more sense to me, so you don't have to necessarily move as soon as they're done school. If you want to have that much space and clean it all, you can. We just sold one, for example, on Fallingbrook the other day, which is off of Big Bay Point on Monday, and it had 5 bedrooms upstairs, plus 2 living rooms on the main floor, plus an office on the main floor, plus a basement apartment. So that obviously was huge. When they bought it, they were like 2 combining families, and then now the kids are gone, and basically it's obviously too big for the 2 of them. So kind of up to you. Obviously right now everything is happening that everybody from Toronto's coming. They do want that bigger home and they do feel like they've won the lottery when they come up here. But obviously I don't know how long COVID is going to last, and are they always going to want a home office, and are they always going to want a home gym, or are they going to be like, I just want to get back to the real gym, or I just want to get back to the city and work there, or whatever. I really don't have a crystal ball for that. So I personally would do something more manageable in size for you so you don't have to move when all the girls leave for college, university, or what have you, but that is just me. Obviously, if homes on average go up 16% a year or whatever, like they guesstimate in all of Ontario, let alone the specific area, if it is a bigger home, that is more bang for your buck. But anyways, that was a really long-winded answer, and I apologize since that was my first question. Okay. So again, for anybody that's never watched this before, I do happy news and real estate stuff first. So first I'm on the news, okay? So I like that, there's been some communities thinking outside of the box lately. And so in Colorado, they basically just announced a bill, and it allows free therapy for anybody under the age of 19. So they have been in the bottom 10 states for having, high mental health issues, suicide, etc., and they want to keep it that way. So anybody under 19 now gets free therapy, which I think is amazing. I hope that one day they and other places can have it so all ages can have free therapy, not just under 19, because obviously a lot of people I think could use it, but I thought that was cool that Colorado just passed this bill that people under the age of 19 can have that, just because since the pandemic, so many people, feel isolated and their suicide levels are up and the number of calls that they get are up, and they're just basically inundated with calls. I thought that was cool that they acted quickly and got that passed. How they're paying for it all, I have no idea, but I thought that was really cool to help the teenagers and so forth. So next question is from Kim in Barrie, and Kim said, I heard gray is out and taupes and creams are in. What should I believe? I don't want to redo my house and do it in a color that is not in or is going to be out shortly. Thank you, Kim, for asking. So yeah, they always change stuff, of course, all the time because they want you to keep buying from them, like tiles and vanities and kitchens and so forth. I obviously have a white kitchen. I didn't put it in. It was in there before I moved here. But white has been huge for a really long time. But now we're seeing like a lot of really dark kitchens. But there's still, regardless of what's in, there's still going to be white kitchens and what have you. And country farmhouse has been really popular for quite a while. And now people are trying like more different tones and richer tones and so forth. But yeah, grays tend to be not as popular anymore. And people are just having white walls or like a little bit of cream, like in the odd light. It, not to say looks yellow, it doesn't look yellow, but do you mean it looks a bit different? But yeah, more, I don't know if you can see the little bit over there, but it's kind of like a creamy, I don't even know what you would call it, like a, what, taupey, I don't know what you call it. But yeah, it has changed to that. So if you can do that, that would be awesome. So the next thing was basically these people were almost empty nesters, and basically they had 5 kids. Their kids ranged from 20 to 32, and their 20-year-old still lived with them and the rest did not. And the wife saw a post on Facebook, and it was about 7 kids. They live in California, and these 7 kids had just lost both their parents in a car accident. And so she tagged her husband in it and shared the post. And a lot of people would just be like, okay, cool story, whatever. But she's like, how can we keep these kids together and let's adopt them, which is crazy. So they had a 6-bedroom house. Each of their kids had their own 5 bedrooms. They wanted to adopt these 7. So obviously the younger kids could share bedrooms, and they ranged in age from 4 to 15, 4 boys and 3 girls. And this lady, after seeing a Facebook post, fast forward a year and a half later to now, and now she's adopted them all. Which I think is super cool. The little boy came in. She said he's 7, and she's like, did you have a bad dream? And he said, no, I'm just making sure you guys are still here, which like breaks my heart, because I guess the parents before they passed had like drug problems and so forth. So lots of times they would just leave them randomly. So that's sad. So I like that they're in a nice, safe home, and I just like different stories like that. So anyways, one more thing before I do my real estate updates. And so a question from Matt and Jen in Oro Station. And again, you guys can feel free to write questions in here if you want. So Matt and Jen in Oro Station, I understand real estate wasn't your first profession. If you could give advice to someone thinking of switching professions, what would it be? Thank you, Matt and Jen, for asking. I would just honestly say go with whatever lights you up. So if you could find yourself doing something for 1, 3, 5 hours and you're just super excited about it, and it's not something you get paid for, whether it's painting or, I know it sounds even funny, but to say like, I just looked out the window and say jogging or walking dogs or, even playing video games or whatever, like you would be surprised what there's jobs for, right? So you could teach something about how to run triathlons or marathons, or you could, I forget what the other example was that I was painting, and you could just do commission pieces. I just bought one the other day off of TikTok. So this girl's just, I ran across her TikTok somehow, and she does like beautiful pieces. So just do what lights you up. Obviously keep your main job for now. So you can obviously pay your bills and your rent and your mortgage and so forth, but test out different things, like maybe take some online classes, obviously because of COVID, maybe you can't take them in person, try some things out. And if you don't like it, you're not like, oh, I tried this out, I'm going to stay with my 9-to-5 job. Try out other things until you find something that really lights you up. Because the worst thing is, getting to a nursing home and being like, I wish I tried this, or I wish I went after that dream or that goal or what have you. So going after different things that interest you is always beneficial. So I would suggest that. So thank you for asking. I just ate chocolate, sorry, right before, and there's chocolate in my teeth. And then one more thing right before I do real estate updates is this man basically had been selling drugs in Washington, and selling drugs, been to jail, and basically you'd say like, what's next for him? And what he came across was he got a job at some earth conservation company, and he realized he loved animals. He was in his 20s, and he became a falconer. So he like trains and rehabilitates birds and so forth. And now fast forward, he has a place in Virginia, and it is 7 acres, and he has a nonprofit, and he basically trains troubled youth to show them like how to train these birds and what have you, because he feels like, you know, he was a bird basically that was given a second chance. So he wants to give these animals a second chance, because oftentimes they fly into wires or buildings or fall into nests or what have you. And he gives these kids, so through it's troubled kids, and then he does 2 other programs. One is a rehab center, so like young kids that have addiction issues already, and then a military school for troubled kids, high school students from Washington. And he gives them a certificate at the end that they can help them with if they're going to veterinary school or what have you. So I thought that was cool. Obviously, you go from drugs and jail to helping kids, you know, get off the street or, you know, rehab or not go to jail in the first place, etc. So I like that. So I'm going to do real estate now. I know I sidetrack a lot for anybody who's not seen me before. They're not used to that. So before I do real estate, we do $2,500 on the first of every month. So if you guys want to nominate anybody, just send a video submission like this or a written submission to info@crippshomes.com. Again, info@crippshomes.com. You do not have to have any relation to Cripps Homes or Cripps Realty. None of the people who have won in the past ever have. And we will, myself will go on the first of the month at 9 a.m. via this site through Facebook Cripps Realty, and we'll knock on somebody's door and surprise them with $2,500. It can go towards their mortgage, their rent, etc. And just say, hey, I want to nominate this person because they this. I want to nominate this person because of whatever. And we never tell people's personal story of why we picked them, okay? So don't worry that you don't want blah, blah information shared, okay? So now I'm into real estate. Okay, so I'll do local statistics a little bit later, but for example, Toronto was up 2% from March of 2021 from March of 2020. But obviously people's wage and earnings didn't go up 22%. So that obviously doesn't quite equate. But tons of people have been trying to use the super low interest rates to get in because they fear if they don't get in now, they're never going to be able to get in. And other people just have a fear of missing out. So that's been the main things with that. And with so many people working from home, it's not just been, you know, Toronto, Vancouver, etc., because they can live elsewhere. So it's been making the markets hot regardless. If you watch this every week, I say this is happening in Huntsville, this is happening in Gravenhurst, this is happening in Peterborough, etc. It's not just Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. Those are the 3 that were normally always crazy. So now they're saying like it has less to do with the bedrooms and bathrooms and the garage size and more to do with how many people are in the bidding war and what do they really feel the value is. So somebody coming from Toronto later on, I'm going to talk about like what you can buy for $500,000, $1 million, and 1.5 in multiple cities across Canada. And basically, you know, they sell a townhome in Toronto, 1.5, and they come up here, and of course them buying whatever house, they think they won the lottery, right? Whereas local people were like, you're delusional, that's on Livingston, okay? So for example, I mentioned earlier, we sold a house on Fallingbrook the other day. It was the one that was 5 bedrooms. I was in Aurora and somebody had watched my live there and said like, oh, I want to buy that mansion that you have in Barrie for $899. So it sold for $1.165. So obviously over $250,000 over asking. Again, listed $899, sold $1.165, which we think is a lot. But they think, again, I'm getting a 5-bedroom house. I'm coming from a townhouse in Toronto for 1.5, and they're going up to this completely renovated house for 1.165. So to them, it makes sense, right? So they're not really saying, oh, what bedrooms and bathrooms were selling 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and what were their pricing? They're just saying, what can I buy in Toronto and what can I buy up here? And to them, it seems like a no-brainer. So hence, they are all moving still. What else was I going to say? So sometimes, not sometimes, but, you know, they've been trying to step in, and sometimes people have said, okay, let's do no blind bidding wars. So bidding wars is not like an auction, and people can hear, I'm going to offer 500,000, I'm going to offer 501, I'm going to offer 510, etc. They can't hear other people's bids, so they don't know, you know, it's listed for 500 and they're offering 650. Is really the next offer, hi Scotty, how are you? Is really the next offer only, you know, 600? They don't have to offer 650, because so if it's not blind bidding, which they're suggesting of possibly doing, then if somebody offers 6, they could just say 601, right? And the other person has the option to say 602, but they don't have to. Whereas currently they say 650, but they don't know if the next highest is 600 or 590 or whatever, and they're paying over. So that has not officially started yet, but they have said, hey, maybe we should do that to kind of control how crazy the market is right now. Another thing they've said is about the stress tests. So the stress tests were put in before COVID. They were taken out when COVID happened because they were just unsure with what was going on in the world. And there was talks of it going back in June 1st of this year, but it has not officially happened yet. Some people were writing that it has officially happened, but it has not officially happened yet. If it were to officially happen, anybody that's not doing an insured mortgage. So if you're putting less than 20% down, you have an insured mortgage by CMHC or Genworth or what have you. If you're doing more than 20% down, it's not insured because you have more than 20%. So they think that you're more likely to pay it back. And those are the people that are going to have to get approved at 2% higher. So if the rate is 2.4, they have to get approved with their debt to service ratio at 4.4. Just in case the rates ever go up, they know that they won't be delinquent, which means that they will. Delinquent means not paying their mortgage bills, okay? So that has not officially happened, but they have said, hey, let's take out the blind bidding wars so people know what the other offers are, and hey, let's put the stress test back in. However, currently neither has happened yet, okay? So just to let you guys know, because I know a lot of people have asked me about that. They've also said no so far to putting capital gains on your primary residence. So currently it's only on secondary residences and so forth. And so they have so far said no to that, okay, which is, I think, is really good because obviously that is majority of where people make their wealth in, you know, they retire and whatever, and all they have is that home. So if you're going to start to be capital gained on that, which basically is 53% for over 200 and whatever thousand. I don't know if it's 200 or 250, I forget, which most people obviously have made more than 250,000 or 200,000, whatever that cutoff is. Then that's not, I personally don't think, to give 53% of it back to the government. That really sucks and hurts for sure. So they have said no to that as well. So far they've talked about the non-blind bidding wars, but it still currently is blind bidding wars, just so you guys know. Okay. So it's believed that as much as a quarter of the economy is tied to real estate in Canada, and economists basically have said that the health of real estate what has avoided us from a recession in Canada. So again, I jump all over the place, so I apologize. In Vancouver, for example, they had just over 5,700 sales in March, which was over 126% higher than they had in March of last year. And some people will say, well, that was COVID started, so of course it's going to be higher, which is true, but 126% is crazy. But it was also 53.2% higher than February of this year, so it's crazy out there as well. There was a new study done by this thing called Angus Reid Institute, and 22% of people said they hope that real estate prices drop at least 30%, and 14% of people said they hope that real estate prices go up at least 30% in 2021. Obviously, you can guess who is a first-time buyer and who is a seller. A seller doesn't want, whether they have one house or 5 homes or what have you, they don't want their properties to go down 30% or more, but obviously first-time buyers do because they're like, well, I'm never going to get in. I want it to go down. So it just depends, obviously, who you're asking. So that was that survey that they just did. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Lately, they've been doing a lot of like memes and jokes about real estate and the weather. So they're saying like you can't control the weather and you can't control real estate, just like you might want it sunny every single day of the week or year or whatever, and 32 Celsius outside. You can't control that. And they're saying you can't control real estate. So they're just joking about that. But so like I was saying again about that stress test, it is only proposed. It is not official, set June 1st, even though a lot of people are posting that it is. So besides people that are putting more than 20% down, it'll also affect, if they do it, which again, they did in the past, but they took it out. It'll affect people if they're putting, so again, more than 20% down, if the property is more than $1 million, if they're doing more than a 25-year amortization, so if they're doing 30 or 35 or 40, and and if they're refinancing. I knew I was missing one. But it's not going to affect first-time buyers because obviously majority of first-time buyers are putting less than 20% down. And again, under CMHC or Genworth, what have you, and that doesn't count. It's just the people that are not insured, so the people that are putting more than 20% down, if that is to happen, which it currently hasn't been officially set yet. So yes, markets are hot, and I'm going to go over like what costs $500,000, what costs $1 million, and what costs 1.5 and where in Canada, just to kind of give you an idea. But basically before, you could buy a mansion up north somewhere, and then in Vancouver or Toronto, you'd basically be buying a shoebox condo. But now that has not leveled out completely, but definitely has adjusted a lot as people are able to work from home and either just want out of the city because of COVID and they're like, nothing's open here, or they want more space, or they're realizing that this isn't as important to work 100 hours a week and now they want to spend more time with their family, etc. So it is balancing out more. So it's not as much like mansion up north, shoebox in the city. Again, it's balancing a bit. It's not identical to what you get in the city as what you get north, but definitely has changed since the pandemic. So Calgary, for example, they had their best March since 2014, which was before the oil crash, the oil market crash. And basically economists have said, anywhere in Canada, if you're planning on buying in the spring market, you need to get used to the word bidding wars, okay? Because it just is still here, okay? Hi, Amy, how are you? Hope you're well and enjoying your new house. Okay, so one thing that people ask a lot is the bank said that I'm approved for 900,000 and blah, blah. Do you think I should spend 900 or try and squeeze 925, or should I only spend 875? I would spend what you're comfortable with. So you obviously know fully, the bank doesn't know how much you spend online, shopping on Etsy or Amazon, or if your car probably needs new brakes soon, or if you're planning on having another baby and you might not be working, you might be getting 60% of your wage or 40 or 50 or however that works, or you want to travel more once COVID's done and you don't, they don't know as much as what your personal finances. So just because they say you're approved for a certain amount doesn't mean you should necessarily spend that amount. Spend what you're comfortable with the monthly payments, okay? So don't over leverage yourself, because being house poor would not be fun. Okay, so I'm doing that 500,000, million, 1.5 across Canada, just so you can see, okay? So in Halifax, for example, for 500,000, you can get a detached, cute little 3-bedroom house. For $1 million there, you can get an oceanfront house 10 minutes from Halifax. For 1.5 in Halifax, you can get a 5,000 square foot home or a big commercial property. Hi, Dwayne, how are you? You and the guys talking about the waterfront and going back and forth was funny. In Montreal, for 500,000, you get a ground floor, basically apartment. For $1 million in Montreal, you can get a semi-detached house that has had renos in the past 20 years, not the past 2 years, but 20 years. And for 1.5 in Montreal, you're basically getting a renovated townhouse. Hi, Ken, how are you? Everything is well. Thank you for asking. Hope it is with you as well. Thank you for tuning in. In Toronto, for 500,000, you're getting a bachelor apartment condo or a studio, which is basically the same thing, basically really small. For $1 million, you can get a semi-detached in Toronto, but it's not updated. They often say has potential, which means needs a lot of work. And for 1.5, you can get, say, a 3-story townhome, for example. In Calgary, for 500,000, you can get a 2-bedroom detached home around 1,000 square feet. For $1 million in Calgary, you can get a home that is, 5 to 10 years old, that's around 2,600 square feet. And for 1.5 in Calgary, you can get a huge 3-story built in 2020 beautiful home. And then in Vancouver, kind of similar to Toronto, for 500, you can get a 650 square foot condo. So obviously you have condo fees. For $1 million, you can get the front of a duplex. So you don't get the back part of it, you just get the front. It's around 1,000 square feet for $1 million in Vancouver. And for 1.5 in Vancouver, you can get a 2-story, 2,100 square foot home. Okay. So in Barrie, to be honest, I have a lot of statistics about Barrie, but I'm probably going to push a lot of them into next week just because I have a lot. So I will do more next week. But in March, there was 1,002 homes that sold just in Barrie. So not all of Simcoe County. I'll break them up next week into Innisfil, Oro, etc. But 1,002 homes sold in March in Barrie. I don't even say in 2021. I'm going to start that again. In Barrie, in March in 2021, 1,002 homes sold. In Barrie, in March in 2020, 609 homes sold. So 609 to over 1,000. So way more sold March of this year. So even though people say about inventory, we've actually had more homes for people to buy, but we've just had way, way, way more buyers. So we still have a lack of inventory, even though more homes have been going on the market. And then the price last year, the average price in March in Barrie was $525, and in March of 2021 it was $708. Okay, it's a bit higher in Springwater, Oro, etc. But again, I'll go over that with you guys next week, just because there is a lot of statistics and I only have so much time, and I have to go show some properties in Innisfil, so I don't have a lot of time. So I apologize. The next question comes from Brandy in Aurelia. Brandy said, with house prices so high, why are first-time buyers out buying right now, and why don't they wait? Thank you, Brandy, for asking. To be honest, who I'm going to show in Innisfil next is a first-time buyer, and basically they're from Toronto. So if you think about it, Toronto people, they're obviously all paying different, but this family, for example, is paying $4,200 a month for rent. So they can come up here. They're living in a townhome down there. They can come up here. They can buy a house. Their mortgage can be like $3,000 a month, $2,700 a month. So they're saving money every month. Plus they're now in a big detached house that's 4 bedrooms, finished basement, etc., double car garage, as opposed to being in, like, I don't know their square footage there, but say 11 or 1,200 square feet there with a single car garage or even no car garage. And they don't need to be in the city anymore because they're both working from home, right? So it makes sense to them. And then also, even though they say on average that Canadian homes are going to go up, Ontario homes 16 point, I forget now, 3% or 4% in 2021. That's just all over Ontario, let alone just in a specific area. So when we keep seeing 30% increases, 52% increases, 47, 39, etc., 16% is like a bare minimum. So they know if they buy a house right now, let's just say for $700,000, how much that's going to be worth next year. So one, they're going to lose money in rent, and two, then the house that they like this year is going to be worth that much more next year. So they're just getting in while they still can, while the interest rates are still low, before any stress tests, before any crazy other new rules get implemented. So that is what they're doing, because things are still going up. And again, they usually are realizing where they live doesn't fit their family type, doesn't fit the extra bedroom they need to homeschool, doesn't fit the spot to work from home, etc. So they're still taking advantage of everything. Again, all the interest rates being crazy low. Some people have talked about like crash in 91 and whatever, but the interest rates we're over 13%. So they're teetering like around 1. So it's not the same. And then in 2017, when stuff came down a little bit, it was for a very short time. Kathleen Wynne put her nose in places it shouldn't have been. And then it was quickly recovered. So the odd economist that says it is going to have an adjustment says it's going to be a very short adjustment, because we still have lack of inventory, and the new construction cannot keep up with the amount of people that we have that need housing in Ontario. Okay, so that is why. Thank you for asking, though. I feel like I'm talking really fast. The next thing is a fellow was on his way to see his boyfriend in New York City, and this was in 2000, okay? So he saw like a doll or whatever on the subway platform. He then realized it wasn't a doll, realized it was a child, went over, and the child still had like the umbilical cord or whatever. He called the police, and from a payphone, because he didn't have a cell phone in 2000, and called the police anyways. And that was in August. In December of the same year, he was in court, and the judge flat out, a lady asked him, like, do you want to adopt this baby? So she knew he was a gay man in his 30s. They had never talked about having kids. He said yes. His boyfriend almost broke up with him, because he's like, we never talked about having kids, and suddenly you're saying yes to this judge to adopt this baby that you just randomly found in the subway. And anyways, fast forward to 2011, it became gay marriage was allowed in New York City. So the little boy that was then adopted by them, who was named Kevin, by the way, he asked that judge, hey, can you marry my dad's? So she did, and then now he's obviously 20 this year, going to be 21. And I just like different stories and happy endings, and he grew up in a lovely household, so I like that. Question from Jill in Barrie. I work a lot and I'm never home. Everyone's telling me I should be in a condo, but I don't really like them. I know you recently moved into one. Do you have any advice for me? Thank you, Jill, for asking. To be honest, I never really liked them either, and just because I've now moved into one doesn't mean that it's right for you. I wasn't about them. I always had a big dog, and I'm like, they're usually against big dogs. And in reality, just because you don't like, say, cutting the grass or doing the snow or whatever, doesn't mean you need to live in a condo. I paid somebody to cut my grass. I paid somebody to do my snow or whatever. So it kind of depends. If it's just because you're not home, doesn't mean that you can't have a home, and you could pay somebody to do your gardens if you have them or whatever. I ended up moving to a condo just because I honestly had lunch with somebody and it kind of just popped into my head. I like, for example, I'm in the waterfront in Barrie, and I can just literally go out the front door, go for a rollerblade or whatever, but you could go out the front door of your house and go for a rollerblade as well. You might not see the water, but do you know what I mean? So it kind of depends more the reasoning why. And it depends if you want to go in the elevator every day. If you're like, that's a pain because I run in and out of my house a million times a day, or I do have a big dog and they have rules, or I don't want the condo fees or whatever. Like some people are approved for $500,000, but then they go look at a condo and they try and buy one for $429. They don't get approval because in reality there's a condo fee on top of that, which then puts them over the 500 in their debt to service ratio. So I think it just depends why. If it makes sense to you, feel free to message me privately and I'll tell you more of it. Next thing was thinking outside of the box. An Australian prison, they, I guess, had a lot of drought recently. And so they had a lot of farmers that had to take care of all of these animals, but yet they're dealing with a drought in their farm. And so the prison said like, hey, we have all these people. You need extra bodies. So what they did was they built this big addition to their jail. And they allowed the farmers to bring in all of their baby sheep or baby lambs, etc., for the first 8 weeks when they need to have be bottle fed and they need all the blankets and they need constant care 24 hours a day. And the program ended up being so popular that they actually built another edition on, and now there's like another jail in Australia that's doing it as well. So the inmates are finding it beneficial and I can't think of the proper word, not soothing, but do you know what I mean, for them. And then the farmers are obviously liking it because they can get some sleep at night while the animals are still being taken care of. So I thought it was cute. Hi, Victoria. How are you? Did you just hear my story of the jails in Australia? Because I like it. It was about baby lambs and stuff at a jail in Australia. Okay, next question comes from Jacqueline and Thornton. With gyms being closed and open constantly, do you think you will ever get back into a gym routine or just adapt to an at-home routine or different form of exercise? Thank you, Jacqueline, for asking. Yeah, this is the longest I haven't been to a gym, and I'm not even really a gym person. But for example, I take Spanish lessons, and I used to, before COVID, meet her in person. Now we just talk on the phone or on Zoom. And the other day I went out and I did my Spanish lesson on the phone with her while I rollerbladed. So I'm just finding different ways to do it. Like the pool closes in my gym or in my condo because of COVID. And I'm like, screw you guys, I'll go for a rollerblade. Or too bad for you, I'll go for a walk outside or whatever. I'm just finding other things to do just because I can't really rely on the gym. So I'm just finding other things to do personally because I find it's for my sanity and clarity of mind, not for like muscle tone or whatever. So I'm just going to do other stuff outside. But thank you for asking. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so what have people, not say been doing in the pandemic, but been thinking? So 58%, they did another survey. So 58% of people said that during the pandemic, it's made them focus on self-improvement. And 52% said they've worked on their mental health since the pandemic. 46% of people surveyed said they feel happier since the pandemic. 48% feel that they're motivated and they want to build more self-confidence. 46% said they have let themselves go, 60% of which said they gained weight. 49% have said they've lost touch with certain family members or friends. And 52% of people have volunteered for the first time since the pandemic. 60% of people have more appreciation for nature. And over 2/3 of people say they feel like they're a better person since the pandemic. They spend more time with their loved ones or whatever. So some people have lost track or lost touch with their loved ones and others spend more time. I'm assuming more like their kids and closer inner circles. 64% of people say the pandemic has been a wake-up call to them of what really is important. And 70% say they're more appreciative of loved ones. And so a lot of people said, over 3/4 said that it makes them want to get better care of themselves. And why they said that, so 52% just said for their overall health, 48% said for their confidence and self-esteem, 47% said they wanted to be more physically attractive, and 46% said they're doing it to be happier, and 39% said to be their best self. So that was that. Again, I will do more breakdown into areas like Innisfil, Oro, Springwater, etc. next week. I just don't have enough time to do it this week. I hope you guys stay safe and go after all your dreams. Take care of one another, and I will see you next week.